Alright, so all you're gonna need to do this little project here, you're gonna need some dish soap, gonna need some water, gonna need some oil. I just got some that I found in my kitchen, and you're also gonna need a glass jar or like a clear cup. Now the first thing that you're gonna want to do is just gonna take your dish soap, gonna pop it open and put some of it in the bottom. Just gonna fill it up a little bit. Don't use a lot because your mom and dad might get mad at you for using up all their dish soap. So once the dish soap is done, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tilt the jar a little bit and slowly pour in the water. If you don't tilt it and you don't pour it in really slow, what's going to happen is it's going to end up all mixing together and you're going to get a lot of bubbles, and you don't really want a lot of bubbles because as you can see here, you can clearly see that there's two different layers and they're separated. So after that, you're going to get your oil and you're just going to do the same thing that you did with the water. You're going to tilt it and you're going to slowly pour in the oil. And again, if you pour it in too fast, then it'll hit the bottom of the dish soap and just make a whole bunch of bubbles. So you just want to slowly pour it in. Then let it rest for a little bit. And as you can see right here, when I pick it up, there's a layer of dish soap, a layer of water, and then just a regular layer of oil all sitting on top of each other. So why did those three liquids separate? Well, it's because they had different densities. Now density sounds like a big word, but when you break it down, it's just the measure of something's mass over the volume. Now mass, volume, density, all three very big words, but they're very simple once you know what they mean. So turn the page over. Let's start off with the oil. So the oil, the volume is how much space something takes up. So this square represents the amount of space that the oil takes up. Now the mass, is the amount of stuff that's within the volume. So these orange little dot thingies represent the oil's mass. Now if you go down to the water, right, water, get a square that's about the same size. Now the water in the same volume has a higher density than the oil, which means that there's more mass inside the water than there is inside the oil. So you can see this by these dots, how they're a little bit more compact and squished in together. So the oil can't go down into the water because there's nowhere for it to go because it can't fit in between the little spaces. Now the same thing can be said for water and a soap. So if you draw another square, so we know that since the soap is on the bottom, it has to have a higher density than the water, and it has to have a higher density than the oil. So you can see this by just taking this green right here, and you see how all of the dots are packed in really tight from the soap. So the oil can't go down into the water because there's no space for the particles to go down, and the water can't go down into the soap because there's no room for the water to go into the soap, because this has a higher density than this and this has a higher density than that. And that's why the oil, water, and soap all are on separate layers.